Good morning, it's Heather Smith with barrelracingtips.com, and I wanted to welcome you to episode 33 of Pistol's Progress. We just finished with our ride. I've got Pistol here. Come on, bud. And so, as many of you know, I've been coming to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning and sharing what we're working on as I get my gelding Pistol back in shape for competition, and also sharing some tips and takeaways that you can apply to your barrel racing. So today we had another incredible ride. He is feeling really good, and it was just kind of eye-opening today. I thought to myself, I've been working a little bit on rate at the first barrel, which over the course of history hasn't exactly been his specialty. And it's really funny, but he is like so tuned in and so responding to the little bit of work I've been doing on that it's almost like I can hardly push him past the second or the first barrel. You know, I mean, of course I really could, but I can just feel him thinking about and preparing for it and really getting gathered up. And I thought to myself, how amazing it is when our horses really feel good. I think that's had been a barrier to some degree in the past. You know, as we grow as horsemen, we just learn more and more what it takes to take really excellent care of a performance horse. And I think the truth is that our horses really are wanting to do the right thing. And we just have to give them every reason to and take away all the reasons not to. And so, but he's feeling awesome. One thing we really worked on is his engagement in the turns. And I'd been working on making some little, you know, kind of corrections and sort of babysitting him and kind of changing his biomechanics and sort of helping him find a new, better, more balanced way of moving and kind of taking what's pretty good and taking it to, you know, a whole nother level. And today I made a shift in my own body language. What I was finding as I was like making these corrections is that he was kind of feeling like he's getting corrected here, then corrected here, and corrected here, and like he was losing a little bit of the fluidity and the rhythm and the momentum to stay just free and fluid and forward around the barrels. And so I thought, well, to just mix it up and try something different, I'm just gonna get like really hunkered down and really engaged and kind of exaggerate that position in my body, and I'm just going to make little to no contact with his face and just really ask him to mirror my body. And I just kind of put him on his honor, and he felt amazing. And the other thing that I did too, as I did mentioned on Monday, is that I'll make circles like right next to the barrel, so it kind of unhooks both of us from our little habits and ways of moving and that we default to around the barrel itself. So what we can do is take that out of the picture and make like a really perfect circle, and then go back and with that same, you know, memory in our bodies from just this few seconds before of making that perfect circle, just stay in that frame of mind and in that frame in our bodies and make that perfect circle around the barrels. And so that felt really incredible. So that was something I was going to give to you as a tip, to really exaggerate what you're doing in your body, and then and try to do even less with your hands and see what you get. And so the thing of it is that we have to train our horses though to be responsive to our body language and to let them know that it has meaning. And so sometimes he has so many buttons that I might shift my weight just to get more balance in the saddle, and he's like, oh, what does that mean? You know, and so sometimes he kind of overthinks things a little bit. It's almost like a good problem to have. Hi, Pam. So anyway, another exercise I did, which is included in the first barrel fixes freebie. If you don't already have that, you can go to, it's a bit.ly link, and actually at the end of this live I'll go ahead and post the link, but it's an exercise that's in the next 50 barrel racing exercises for precision on the pattern in the first barrel chapter. And it's where we actually make some circles like on the way to the first barrel in our what I call slow work. It's basically in our training and our tuning that we do, you know, at home. But I actually tried it, we go to the left barrel first. I tried it over on the right, and I'll mix things up. Like a lot of times I will, as I'm doing kind of like my 4-mile workout, and I'll just spend those minutes in the trot, both going left and right. And actually, since I'm working the pattern, I'm just kind of, going whichever direction we're going around the barrel. But I'll go around the pattern, and then I'll go all rights, or I'll go all lefts, or I'll do those circles right next to the barrel. And then sometimes I'll put it all together and actually go through the pattern. I'll usually circle each barrel twice, just because I think that really emphasizes and requires that more engagement, which is what we're working on, and not getting kind of flat and rushing the turns. And I think that really probably comes back to me. Like, my tendency is to rush the turns and maybe use my hands a little bit too much and kind of look a little bit early, where if your tendency is to do that, instead of rushing with your hands, what I really encourage you to do is take that urgency you're feeling in a run to hustle and put it into your seat, and really push your horse with your pelvis in time with their stride, and really hustle their feet through your seat, instead of taking away their balance and rushing the turn and actually pulling their nose prematurely, which does tend to result in them actually leaning and their feet going to the outside. And so I'm just catching up on comments here. Hey Karen, love to see you from Australia. Hey Cassie, morning Brandy, morning Bonnie. Hey Billy. So I did those circles on the way to the first barrel because I can feel him sort of getting anxious. Like, if I like to really test him as I'm working on things and things are feeling really good, then I'll kind of like put him on his honor and put him to the test and be like, hey, okay, now you show me what you know after everything we've been working on. And a lot of times, if you ask them with a little more speed, it'll fall apart a little bit. It'll feel maybe a little bit like it used to before you've been working on making all these changes. That's really kind of normal. But the benefit is that because you have this new foundation you've been building, you can just make a quick correction, be like, hey, remember, this is how we're going to do things now. And so I did actually ask him to simply just engage and rock back and like shift his weight back and shift his weight back, instead of tending to be a little bit more forward and disengaged. And I'm really working on shifting my own weight back and not riding his front end, and really visualizing like he's a train and I'm riding the caboose instead of the other way around. It's sort of like having the engaged motor in a speedboat down in the water, and the nose of it is elevated up versus driving like pushing a wheelbarrow that has just one wheel in the front. And so that's what I really was visualizing. But we made really a breakthrough in the way he was loping those circles, like I said earlier, where I just really, there's some roping steers out in the pasture that he's kind of fascinated with. So I just really sort of hunkered down, and I mean, it was not actually what I would consider a very good posture or something I would want to do all the time. But by just really hunkering down and almost just like squatting down like this in the saddle and dropping my shoulders and compressing my body like an accordion, it was amazing how he started to do the same thing, and I didn't have to touch his face at all. And then I got that smoothness back. Instead of trying to like, poke his leg in here and his weight in here and try to like fix everything and be everywhere, I just over exaggerated what I wanted him to be in my body, and then I sort of turned him loose and asked him to match me. And so that worked out really well. But like I said, the thing is that our horses need to know that body language, the things that we're doing in the saddle, have meaning, and that they should respond to it. And so one more thing I wanted to offer as far as testing and teaching our horses. There's a trailer coming in that's jiggling, so making some noise. What is that? So the other thing I was going to mention today was on the topic of wide turns, and I think this goes back to testing our horses also. And so basically, if our horse, like, I want to be able to lope my horse through the pattern at home, and basically we should be able to do it without touching the reins at all. Like, it's our horse's job to know the pattern. Like, we shouldn't have to be holding them on the pattern. whatsoever, or correcting them constantly. Like, that should be something that they're staying between our legs and they're following our focus. And the pattern, the exact footfall path, is something that they should know by heart. But then at the same time, they need to be so responsive that if we need to make some sort of subtle adjustment to help them or make us a little shift, that they should respond to us in an instant. And so a lot of times what happens with, like say a horse is stepping off the barrel, we have to ask, number one, is there a legitimate reason they don't want to finish tight, that they don't want to turn and crank the barrels, or to even rate or something? And a lot of times that goes back to them not feeling their best. And I think we need to be willing to dive a lot deeper and take their care to a much higher level in order to truly support and understand what their bodies go through as these high performance athletes, which in most cases we have no idea. Like, we do not put our bodies through a fraction, the majority of us, through what their joints and their bodies and their soft tissues and everything are going through. The actual range of motion and the torque and so forth. When you think about it, if you've ever watched slow motion video, I mean, like, their pasterns are laying on the ground. Like, their whole hind legs are just like compressed like this. And to do that with, you know, that much, so dynamically and with the amount of repetition, we have to think about the inflammation that it creates and the fact that they don't have to be showing pain when they're just going slow, but it might just sting them when they get into a certain position at speed, or it might translate into just weakness, or like I said, it might be an actual pain, or it might just be sort of like a burning sort of sensation, or it could just translate into they just don't seem to have the strength. So that's something to really keep in mind. The other thing, so our horses basically should be so well educated that we can put their bodies anywhere, anytime, in an absolute instant, like split second. So if you go to move your horse off your leg and there's like a 2-second delay when you're going slow, then you've got nothing on the pattern. Like, if you go to move your horse off your leg and you need it to be quick, and they're like really luggy about it, then you probably don't have any business putting them on the barrels at all, because you're just setting yourself and them up to fail, essentially. And so we need to have our horses, we need to raise our standards for their education. And so basically then what happens if people will say, oh, my horse, you know, they turn the second barrel and then they just kind of spit the bit and run home, or they come out wide. The thing of it is that, like, so why, like, if something changed and they basically forgot their job, which, you know, like I said, it's our responsibility to teach them theirs, where they should be able to, they just know it by heart. They know every step and they take responsibility for that. Well, if something changes, something falls apart, then why is it that we wouldn't be able to instantly correct them and put them back on path like that, even in the middle of a run? So then what it comes down to is that our timing is incredibly late if that's happening. And the other thing is that if we have to put pressure, if we have to like pull with all we've got and we're not getting a response, again, that tells you the foundation that you need is not even close to where it needs to be able to position your horse in an instant in any circumstance. And so so that's just like some food for thought, even for folks who are advanced, to just take things to a higher level, where it's like, could you go and take your horse and lope them around the pattern and have them not take a wrong step without reins? Or would they kind of come off the barrel here and there? And if they're coming off the barrel, then that's really kind of eye-opening. I think the best trainers give horses a little bit of a buffer in the reins, and they can really feel like where their horse is, their weak spots are, and they can really correct them. But it's still really eye-opening, and it keeps us honest to just experiment, or just, we can learn so much just setting the reins on their neck and just walking the pattern at home and be like, okay, you tell me what you know, and then just ask them to follow your focus. And it's just incredibly eye-opening. And so I was doing a little bit of testing today for him to kind of show me where he is, and he really keeps his footfall on track. He's really pretty honest about that. It's just that he loses the particular details in his positioning, and he kind of like he just like places his weight incorrectly, like when I put him on his honor. And so then that was my, the results of my test is like, okay, I've got a little more work here to take things to a higher level, to really have what I need when it's time to put it all together with speed on the pattern. So that was a little bit scattered this morning, but it was just what was on my mind. So a lot of this is sort of impromptu, and it's whatever sort of comes to me. Sometimes I'm inspired by some of the questions that I received, but a lot of it is, you know, just a ride report on what we're working on in the moment, and then some other things that come to mind based on what I see folks struggling with, or some of the things, like I said, we're working on that would apply to other people, even regardless of being in having a totally different style of horse or being in a different stage. So yeah, that's awesome, Karen. That is really exciting. Yes, that's awesome. And we really do need to be, I think that we need to be our horse's best advocate as far as taking care of their health and well-being. And I think that there's nobody that knows your horse better than you do, so there's no better person to be able to be better candidate to be more involved. And in order to take like the absolute best care of our horses, we do need to take on a big role as far as like body worker. In my case, the role of farrier is one I've taken on. And so anyway, but yeah, the more we can the more we can learn, the more we can do for our horses, because like I said, they need more than what can be provided by like once or twice a month. Like I think we need to have good relationships with professionals that do that kind of work that we can trust and do that kind of work day in and day out. But we need to keep pursuing higher level education so that we can be providing a higher level of care and meeting our horses' needs at a higher level on an everyday sort of basis. And that's really going to be a game changer for sure. It's like it really always comes down to the physical, the mental, which is our horse's education, and the emotional, and taking care of how our horse feels about everything that we're doing with them and making sure that we're building their confidence. So that's what I'll leave you with today. And as always, my intention is for you to really take this and run with it and apply everything that I'm sharing. Yeah, I would say, Athena, I mentioned in the last Pistol's Progress, like, there is definitely a place for making corrections at speed and just reminding the horse, like, hey, those things we worked on going slow still apply at speed. So basically, I might, like, if my horse has a tendency when I speed up for them to sort of blow out of the turn, then I'll just put my reins, I'll just engage my reins as a boundary and be like, no, you're not allowed to cross that line. Like, get back on track, and then things get relaxed and peaceful again. And we can always use our legs too. But if we're not effective, like if we engage our reins or use our leg and that horse is pushing through it, then we need to go back and develop those foundational elements better so that they will respond to us in an instant under any circumstances. We really have to make absolutely sure that we've done everything we can to build that understanding off the barrels. So then they're not going to get in trouble on the pattern. It's going to be like, oh, I get it. You know, we can really keep it a positive place. But when we have given them the benefit of the doubt, when we're certain we have really provided everything, then yeah, there will be moments at times when we've allowed them to learn something they should have never learned in the first place, which again, it's all our responsibility. If we need to go back and correct it, there's going to be moments where, you know, they're going to get kind of caught off guard, or it's not necessarily going to be pretty, but we should be able to work through that really pretty quickly when we have given them all the tools. So you're so welcome. Thank you so much, Jackie. So again, thanks so much for tuning in. It's always a blast checking in with you. We're going to have a ride on Friday. We're going to keep it pretty light because we have a big day coming up on Saturday. So I can't wait to share more about that. Things are starting to heat up and get exciting here. So, but we had another incredible ride. I'm just going to finish walking him out so he gets a good long cool out, and then we're going to head back home. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you again soon.